I could build a spaceship.
Hello and welcome to this Space Dock Jury Minisode number... I have no idea. Let's
call it the Andromeda Minisode.
The Andromeda Minisode. Welcome to Andromeda.
Yes. It's been 600 years. It certainly felt like that. But we finally made it.
Yeah. It's been a long road getting from there to here.
Looks like we made it.
Anyway, I'm Lee.
I'm Andy.
And yes, there is no Pete for this minisode.
He's in the Jefferies tube, as is tradition.
Folded up in half. Yeah.
In half.
Yeah.
We did cut holes in his back this time so he can breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So yeah, he's jammed in the Jefferies tube to be found at some later date in season 6 of Next Generation when they beam through a wall and find the builders of the original Enterprise.
So funny you should mention that. It possibly in some sort of suit.
Yes, possibly some sort of mechanical suit. Yeah.
Yes. Inside joke.
Yeah. Anyway. Yes. So. I suppose you've for anyone who's been following us on Twitter, Pete's been making the most of the fact that we, Andy and I, have been indulging in the latest Mass Effect episode.
I was going to say, so people who've listened to this podcast over the last year, and the Black Dog before that, and who know us personally, might know that you and I are somewhat interested in the Mass Effect series of games. This might come as a shock to new listeners, but it's true. We are somewhat passionate about our love of this game series.
I think so.
So, yes, to say we would be excited about this would be... Would you say an understatement?
I think
yes,
quite an understatement. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is basically our first impressions. I will.
Can I just put this again? A small bit of context
Yeah.
here. Okay. With everything that's gone on in the last 2 years, 2016, all the celebrity deaths, Trump becoming president, Brexit, everything. This has been our shining light.
Oh God! No pressure.
I just want to paint an accurate representation.
Yeah.
Of expectation.
Yeah, it has, and for the last 5 years since Mass Effect 3, it's been out there tantalizing us until like the last 12 months when it's been kind of building in momentum.
Oh yeah, N7 Day last year.
Yes,
was a squee moment, shall we say?
It certainly was. And, for those of you who have never heard of the Mass Effect universe, very, 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 very briefly, it's a series of video games by BioWare and EA. And basically, it surrounds a well-built universe of characters and alien species, and in the first 3 games, comprised of you playing a commander called Shepard, who would go off and had to fight these ancient Cthulhu-oid style alien space robots called Reapers, and that's pretty much it. That was it. It was a
space opera in the best traditions of space operas.
Indeed. It had backstory. It had fully rounded characters and all this kind of thing.
We can't really understate how good Mass Effect is.
Yes. I mean, gameplay-wise, it was a bit clunky in the first one, but the story carried it and the characters carried it, and then by the time you got to the third one, tears were shed, manly blubs were had, and much, oh God, when people started to talk about seashells. Yeah. So basically, by the end of it, though, the end of the game, the end of the 3 games, resulted in an end which was, shall we say, rather final.
Oh, yes. Whatever option you took, and I believe there was 4 in total, whatever option you took, that was the end of the story.
Yes.
And, furthermore, when BioWare announced they were going to make another game, they said they would respect all 4 of those possible outcomes.
Yes.
Making, from our perspective, from the outside looking in, going, that's going to be difficult.
Yes, that would have been very difficult. So how did they do it? Well, here we are, 5 years after Mass Effect 3, and we found out how they're going to do it. Basically, the game, Mass Effect Andromeda, which we have only just had. I mean, by the time of recording, it's been out for less than, 4 days?
Well, a week. It came out last Thursday.
Oh, last Thursday, there you go.
So at the time of recording, it's literally been a week.
Yes. This game basically is set in a completely different galaxy and started a year after the first Mass Effect game and got everyone away from the Milky Way galaxy to Andromeda 600 years later to utterly avoid absolutely everything that ever happened in the first 3 games. I mean, it literally turned around and went, we're not dealing with that shit, let's go somewhere else. And that's exactly what they did. Mm-hmm. So, this minisode, such as it is, I say minisode because I don't know how long this is going to last.
Yeah, I was going to say, hang on to your butts, people.
Yeah, it could go a bit wonky here. But essentially is to really give our first impressions of this game. The reason being is, as Andy rightly says, we've talked about it before. We brought the Normandy up on the main cast twice.
Twice,
exactly.
We brought a Reaper once, had to take it away, but we've gone there. We've tried repeatedly to get Peter to engage in this, but it seems futile.
Yeah, apparently the lifts in Mass Effect 1 were enough to be a deal breaker for 3 whole games. But let's just leave it at that. It was his choice. He can go watch Starfleet if he likes. It's up to him. He may be wrong, but never mind.
There's no maybe about it. But anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly. Anyway, so
I don't think it's worth. Okay, so basically, we're going to talk about this game. I don't think it's worth us doing any kind of non-spoilery, what do you think? Because neither of us have finished this game at all, and this is a game that's all going to be about the story and stuff like that. I think if you haven't played the game, but you're even remotely interested in it, stop listening now and just go and get it.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. It's because I don't want us dancing around plot points and stuff. I want to just have a conversation with you about it.
Yeah, and the other
respecting each other where we are, because I think we're probably more or less at the same sort of place.
Well, I hope so, but I'm not entirely sure that we are. The other thing to bear in mind before you go, if you are going to say, "Oh no, I'm not going to talk about plot spoilers. I don't want to hear la 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 la." If you've not played this game, the only sum up I can possibly offer is don't expect Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3. Expect Mass Effect 1.
Very much so, yeah. Mass Effect 1. In fact, I'd go as far as to say, if you'd never played the other 3 games at all, absolutely jump into this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've played the other 3 games. It's not like...
No.
You'll certainly be familiar with the species and the universe if you have played them, but if you don't, it is laid out for you in the game. So,
yeah.
And it's I suspect I would love to hear someone who jumped into the Mass Effect universe at this game and get their take on it.
Yeah.
But that's for a later conversation.
Yes, indeed. Because the thing is, I mean, this is probably the pre-spoiler run-up, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah.
But as far as it goes, this game does try to basically start Mass Effect and introduce the universe to everyone from the start. So it's it would be a bit like jumping into a Captain America film, possibly Winter Soldier, without having seen any of the other Marvel films. Now, you can watch the film for what it is and enjoy it for what it is. However, there's so much other stuff going on around you that the time investment you would have made in the other 3 games will really pay off dividends in sort of save it in terms of making the story flow, because you're not sitting there trying to paper over the cracks with, ooh, what's an Asari? Ooh, what's a Turian? Ooh, what's a
Solarian.
Solarian, yeah, I was going to say that. And so in many ways, the game tries to be as inclusive as possible, and yet also try to give you the options not to have it explained to you on a plate. So, just it will be interesting to hear what anyone who's coming at this from a first time perspective is concerned. In fact, it might even be it would be interesting to hear what Pete thought of this game starting from scratch. Would you say? Because I mean, the thing is,
with all respect to the right of an honourable reverend, currently residing in our Jefferies tube with holes in his back to help him breathe, I think Peter's maybe not, because I just get the impression computer games as a whole don't do with him. I think, you know who would be a good one to do?
Go on.
Elton.
Yeah, actually.
Elton would be a good one, I reckon, because Elton is more willing to give a video game a good go and invest some time in that. So, and he's, through doing me the N7 suit, he's kind of got a bit of a passing familiarity with it, with the Mass Effect universe. You know, he's seen pictures, but that's as far as it goes. So maybe that's a project for us. Elton Plays, where we get Elton, who's listening to this driving to work at the minute.
Probably.
Where we get Elton to play through Mass Effect Andromeda and tell us what he thinks of the universe coming in it that way.
Yeah. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I know a few people with PS4 versions that would be quite happy to get rid of it.
There we go then. So, excellent. Coming soon to Space.Jury, Elton Plays. It's a sub podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Do it. Get on Gaming Twitch and we can put it on the YouTube channel.
Oh, yes.
While we narrate over the top. Anyway, so basically, for old Mass Effect fans, give it a chance. Don't go in expecting.
I will say this to old Mass Effect a chance. Bear with it.
Yes, it's
a difficult start.
Oh yes,
to put it mildly, But I think this. So just to establish where we both are in this game, I've done EOS, and then I've done another planet afterwards. I did the ice one.
This is exactly where I am right now.
Right. So I think I've literally just finished that planet. So I think I might be a little bit further ahead of you.
Yes.
Okay, but still, we're about the same sort of place. And I don't know about you, but certainly once I kind of made it off EOS, it got a lot better.
Yes.
It's a very difficult start to this game. Partly, I think, because my expectations were very Mass Effect free, and also the trailers lied to us. The trailers were either up-resed, polished to within an inch of their life and done by Blur Studios, or have been significantly down-resed in anticipation of the Xbox Scorpio and PlayStation 4 Plus or whatever to make you buy those new consoles. Either way, what you saw in those trailers is not representative of what you get in the game.
No. I mean, this is our non-spoiler review bit, I suppose. Yeah, I mean...
we can still kind of... Yeah, we're not stalling story here, but
No. I mean, as far as it goes, that's exactly how I felt. I played it for 8 hours on the first day I got it. And I did 8 hours, and by the end of it, I literally got... Well, I think I got precisely nowhere. And... except a lot of fetch quests and a lot of dialogue and a lot of stuff that goes backwards and forwards with characters, and you just think, this is not engaging me. This is like mid-game stuff. This is kind of, once you've had your excitement, you go back and you sort of fill in the blanks of the world you're in.
It was not. I mean, again, we were messaging back and forth, and you were like, I'm close to just pulling out the Xbox and going down to CEX.
Yeah, I was.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, I was, because the whole thing it's like an 9 hour tutorial doing literally nothing. And the worst bit is that then when you've got nothing but dialogue to worry about, you've got nothing but the faces and the graphics to sort of pull you through. And it's very clear now, especially, that there's different teams working on this for different sections of the same parts of the story.
Yeah.
And so the graphics quality kind of goes up and down like a yo-yo. The voice acting goes up and down. The dialogue, some of it is just atrocious.
Some of it really is bad.
And it's such a barrier to entry that you almost need to sort of bite down hard and go, okay, I'm going to keep going at this until I've literally cannot take any more. And that sort of is at the end of the first planet. And by the time you get to that, and you get to your sort of first extra character, shall we say, you are either going to go, right, okay, I've had enough, I give up, I've done 10 hours, I'm just not doing any more of this. Because it is just point A to point B, click a button, have a dialogue, go to point B, click A, have a dialogue, go to point A again, do it again. And it was just like, this is not Mass Effect. This is like a fetch quest returned over and over and over again. And I was just like, no, you're not doing anything here. You're actually just arsing me about for 10 hours. And I was so cross. And what was even worse was I made an absolute pig's ear of my character, just trying to rush it through. That I thought, well, actually, what I want to do is I want to start again with a new character and do it properly. And I suddenly thought, I've got to do all that 8 hours again. Oh, no. Can I put up with this character? And I've got this character who looked like a bug-eyed frog with a Lego man's hair stuck on his head. And I was just like, I can't take this. No, I've got to do a new character. And I went through it, and knowing what was coming, I knew what was kind of relevant and what wasn't. I kind of just blitzed through those 8 hours in about 2. I just kind of was like, you know what, sod this. I'm not going to give a shit about this quest or that quest or this quest or that quest or this quest or that quest. And bang, 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 bang. And I just barreled through, and I got to the point where I was 8 hours before, and I did it in 2. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I establish a colony, and the game just goes, ta-da! Okay, here we go. And it was like, why couldn't you have done that from the start? Why couldn't you have just given me all this stuff, all these things to play in, given me these characters to have a talk with, given me this universe to dick about in? Why did you have to put all this crap up front? It literally looked like someone had just taken the middle part of the game and just went, stuck it right in the front.
Well, strangely enough, a bit it reminded me the most of was Eden Prime in Mass Effect 1, which, having not too long past replayed Mass Effect 1, which in of itself was a difficult slog.
Yes.
Graphics aside, it plays very, very differently to Mass Effects 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But the beginning of this reminded me very much of that whole Eden Prime thing.
But sorry to interrupt.
No.
But the thing with Eden Prime in Mass Effect 1 is that you are immediately introduced to the bad guy. Literally within about 5 minutes.
Oh, no, I wasn't commenting so much on the story perspective of it. And again, the story of Mass Effect 1, at least, it's a lot. Again, we're both very early into what I'm expecting to be a very, very long, sweeping game. The first bit is very, very tight. I feel like they got a bit lost with what they were trying to do in the beginning, because I think they were trying to appease old fans coming back, new fans coming forward. They had checklists, stuff they didn't achieve the first time they did Mass Effect. They wanted to try and do this time around. It's too many cooks spoiling the broth, I feel, is what's gone on there.
Yeah, the problem is that, and again, without getting into the spoilers, because we will have that in a minute, but the problem with Andromeda, and especially that opening gambit of the game, is it just goes, hey, you're an explorer, here's a planet, have fun. And there's nothing there. And half of it's sealed off. And it's like, right, okay, so what do I do? Oh, you have to go back to all the other planets. And you're like, right. And it puts all this other crap in your way that has there's nothing going on in those extra bits. And whereas in like Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, within 5 minutes you have a protagonist, an antagonist, and shit going down quickly that you need to resolve.
Oh, the beginning of Mass Effect 2 it's one of the best openings of any video game, in my opinion, ever. Mass Effect 3 as well, but Mass Effect 2 especially. It takes what you're familiar and comfortable with from Mass Effect 1. You got the Normandy, you got your ship, your crew, the music's there, and everything like this, and then just fucks it all up for you. Turns everything up on its head for you, so you're already intrigued. You want to know what's going on. And then you've got that whole bit getting away from the server space, which kind of serves as a tutorial. And Mass Effect, it's superb. Superb.
Exactly. Whereas Andromeda just goes, oh, you've woken up. Oh, the gravity stopped working. Oh, the gravity's working again. Go speak to this guy. Okay. And that person goes, Go speak to this guy. Okay. Go on this tube. Okay. Go speak to that guy. Okay. Go speak to this guy. Okay. We're going down to a planet now. Okay. We're on the planet.
I'm actually really impressed in how accurate you were with all that.
Yeah, and then it's like, you go down to the planet and you're like, right, I'm on the planet. Okay, this is how you jump. Okay.
Can we just take a moment?
Yeah.
Jump packs changed my life.
Yeah, they've. I mean, there, like you say, there's bits. There's bits in the opening that work. I mean, like the fact you can jump, hover, and shoot from the sky. I mean, it's brilliant. But then you've got the bad guys who never miss, ever.
Bad.
I mean, so that hovering basically just makes you a target for every bad guy in the entire map.
To be fair, I have to question the strategic value of it at the best of times anyway. It is, you jump up in the air, go to target, and you kind of hover in air, and it's just like, hello, I'm a target with no cover.
I mean, it works.
Obviously, they went to the Jedi school of combat, where if you have the high ground, you win.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, so the thing is, it just, that whole opening really doesn't establish any villains. I mean, the aliens that you face, who, although they will become bad guys that you will have to face, at that point, they're just randoms.
They're just another alien.
Yeah, and they're seen at such a distance that you really don't get to see anything of them. They don't talk, they don't do anything, and you're just like, I've got no engagement with any of this. And they're not coming for your ship, they're not running for you. Then you run into another set of aliens, and they do pretty much the same, except they ignore you entirely unless you attack them. And it's like, so what am I doing? Where's the urgency? Where's the adventure? Where's the exploration? It's just, I'm just running around in a big open-ended map doing not an awful lot. It feels like I'm playing the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, essentially.
Yeah, it's definitely got... I mean, yeah, that opening mission has a lot of that there. I just... Yeah, getting back to what we were saying at the beginning, I just think if you're coming into this game from the older Mass Effect games, or Dragon Age games, or anything like that, and if you're finding yourself going, this is just a slog, I'm not having fun here, power through it. Skip the side quest, it doesn't matter, just power through it, because it gets better.
Yes. I mean, it does. I mean, as much as it pains me to say, because I was giving EA on bloody Twitter an absolute kicking. Every time they went, oh, explore a new universe, I'm like, no, you've made Phantom Menace. You really have. So, yeah, but as much as it pains me to say, I mean, it does get better, but the problem is, I'm starting to wonder whether it's Stockholm Syndrome.
Well, that's entirely possible.
Because there's so much about it that still irritates me even when I'm playing it. I'm like, oh my God.
Everyone listening, you've had your non-spoilery bit. If you're not going to... If you want to play it and then come back, because we're going to spoil shit now.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is your 23-minute warning. Here we go. So we are going to go into spoilers now, and from here on in, there will be spoiler zone aplenty, and we will just say things about characters and whatever's going on. Obviously, we will try not to spoil it for each other, but
well, I know where you are roughly, so there's something I can't mention about, but I won't, so we should be fine.
Okay, cool. So if you don't want to hear any more, just take what we've said already and just multiply it by 3 for the rest of this hour. And I mean, like I say, for me,
wait until the price comes down. That's my advice for you. Let the hype go away. Let the price come down, and also
let the patches.
Yeah, I was going to say they'll get some patches out there, because things like EA Assassin's Creed Unity, which is not a great game, but it was buggy as fuck when it came out. But by the time I picked it up, they patched all the bugs, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, give it a couple of months, maybe. Wait until the summer. There's nothing comes out into summer on video games. Get it then. You don't want to go outside. It's hot. It's nature's out there. Very bad.
Yeah.
Stay inside. Curtains closed. Play Mass Effect Andromeda. You'll thank us.
Yeah. Until then, if you got a PlayStation 4, get Horizon Zero Dawn, which is absolutely superb. which is which is the game that Mass Effect Andromeda really does wish it was. But that's for another discussion another time. But yeah, and if you got the Xbox, just play Witcher 3. It's a great game. And it's
or take
huge.
the opportunity to I don't know, see your loved ones now, and you know, because you're not going to see them once you start playing. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not. So there you go. So that's 25 minutes, and now we're going to go on to our spoiler section.
I am assuming direct control.
And that works.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, no collectors. Anyway, so here we are in the spoiler section. And
You say no collectors.
Don't start with that. Don't start shit like that with me.
No, I'm not starting shit. Just the design of the cat.
Okay, let's talk about the cat. Are they or are they not the worst alien design ever? They are like generically pants. They are Blandy McBland face.
One of my complaints about the game is both the Ket and the other alien race with Captain Monocle.
Oh, the
Angarans?
Yeah.
Angara. Yeah. Captain Monocle, as we'll call him, because he has a monocle and a cape. They're so...
Missing a cane.
No. I'm sure that's the DLC upgrade later on, and a top hat. But they're so kind of bland and far too familiar. I mean, one thing which really knocks me above all else is all of the Angara have British and Australian accents.
Yeah,
and use colloquialisms and stuff like this. And okay, fine. I was fine with the Turians, the Solarians, and the Asari doing it because we'd been living among them for a long time. Translators and everything were all good and fine and everything like this. But literally, you kind of turn up with the Angarans, and 5 minutes later, it's like, come on, mate, we're popping down and throw another shrimp on the barbie. It's like, fuck's sakes.
Yes,
they're far too familiar, considering that we're in another galaxy and B 600 years removed from when we left. I really wish they had been more alien. Even if it was a case of the only way to communicate was through like a digitized, like they do on bloody Star Trek and stuff like that. You know, it's like rap, and you know you get a digital voice which kind of does the stuff for you.
Yeah,
that would have been a much. It's just, okay, for the sake of expediency, I understand why they went with what they did, but it's just it takes away from that sense of the novel of being in Andromeda. I mean, part of me questions if this was always going to be set in the Andromeda Galaxy, and if this wasn't originally envisioned as a prequel just after the First Contact Wars, because you could almost take the Angara out and slap the Turians in there or something like that, or you know, and that sort of thing, and that would almost make more sense where you're just starting to explore the Milky Way galaxy
and the Ket being the Batarians.
Yeah, and all this, you know, it just. I mean, instead of Spectres, we have Pathfinders. Yeah. Instead of a Citadel, we have the Nexus. Instead of
the Normandy, we have the Tempest.
We have the Tempest, but it could have been. I think they could have been more different, and it wouldn't have been detrimental. I feel they've gone. Yeah. Instead of a Mako, we have the Nomad.
Yeah,
which has the exact same sound effects as well.
Yeah, exactly. I methat's that right there with the Nomad sound effects kind of sums it up. This feels like, how can I put this? Basically, there was a bunch of coders. Just bear with me on this one. Okay. A bunch of coders who decided that they were going to make a Pokemon video game. And they made a Pokemon video game based on Pokemon Sun and Moon, I think it was. And Nintendo came along and went, nope, and slapped them with a big, fat cease and desist. And it was just supposed to be a fan game. That was it. But it was an infringement on copyright, and it basically, because it interfered with their world. Andromeda, at times, feels like someone sat down and went, oh, I've got the Frostbite engine, I'm going to make Mass Effect. And it feels fanboyish.
Oh yes, it
feels like someone, you know, like one of the big problems. I don't know if I've mentioned it on this cast, but one of the big problems I always have with the Aliens comics, for example, the Dark Horse ones, was that once you had Aliens, the film, the Aliens comics in Dark Horse had, for the most part, literally had a scene of Marines versus aliens getting trapped and being stranded on a planet. That was essentially the generic story for pretty much 90% of the comics until like they got real writers in when Dark Horse started becoming big. And that's what this feels like. It feels like someone or a bunch of people have tried to make Mass Effect again.
You know what it is? It's Force Awakens.
Do you know what? I almost agree with that, except for the fact that in the case of Force Awakens, they involve characters from the other universe or from the films.
Oh yeah,
and they fold them in. If Andromeda, for whatever reason, I have no idea how you fold it into the story, but if it actually included like Garrus or Rex or Morden or even Shepard, if they were actually there, involved, not just Liara's voiceover actress on a bloody data pad, but actually,
who seems like she was so uninterested in the recording, did it over Skype.
Yeah, that was just, what the fuck was that all about? She just sounded like, yes, I'm going to give you loads of information. I wish I could come with you, but stuff. I mean, it was just like that. But then it feels like that. It feels like all the way through. It feels like they went, oh, let's remake the Mako and make it work. Let's remake the fighting and make it better. Let's remake the Citadel and make it bigger. Let's make this the Normandy, but actually make it internally work properly and make it so you don't have to use lifts for one floor and all this kind of stuff. That feels like it all the way through, but what they haven't got is writers to write compelling characters. Because to me, the characters in this feel like all they're doing is ticking boxes. And I know there's this whole thing going on. I know there's a Gamergate type thing going on about, oh, they've diversified everything. They're putting SJWs on Mass Effect. But, it does feel very box ticky. You've got one character who is deeply religious. You've got another person who is gay. You've got another person who is, who is basically a runaway. You got another person who's all about sort of like right and wrong, black and white, everyone, and then you got the Pathfinder in the middle, who is, to be quite honest, even when you choose the right options, is pretty much 40 pounds of wet washing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Shepard would chew him up and spit him out for breakfast.
Exactly. You never get a sense in any conversation that he has with his team around the table of the Tempest that he's the one in charge, ever. Or she's the one in charge. It's always like, well, guys, let's just all get along, shall we?
I've just started playing mine as Mal Reynolds. Straight up. It's the options are there to be said, so I'm doing that all the time.
Yeah.
My Tempest is being commanded by Mal Reynolds.
My Tempest, I don't know what my character is. My character is just like, look, this is the answer. Let's go do this. It's very blunt.
Mine's all about the sarcasm.
Yeah, I'd love to do the sarcasm, but the problem is that some of the dialogue with the sarcasm options is so so cheesy. I pretty much felt like I fell in a bucket of curd. I mean, yeah. Anyway, getting back to the point. I mean, the aliens. You're right. They don't feel alien enough, and they don't feel imaginative enough. Especially when you had things like the L Core in the Milky Way. When you had things like, what's the other ones? The Drell,
Volus?
The Volus. No, what's the ones? The jellyfish.
Hanar.
L Core. Hanar.
Yeah, the Hanar.
Hanar. And
where's Blasto? Where is Blasto? Why is he not a Pathfinder?
Well, I think he was filming Blasto 6, wasn't he? But when you look at something like the Hanar, which is like essentially a massive jellyfish, and it's like that's pretty out there. And then you look at something like the Keepers, which is or was it the God Almighty. The Krogan and the Drell and the Volus and the Elcor, these are all very, very different looking aliens. And or the what's those ones? With my finny teeth. The
I know the ones you mean.
Yeah,
can't remember their fucking name though.
Yeah, I don't know. The Vash. Varan. No, that's
I think that's the kind of dog thingies.
Yeah,
hang about. Let me just go and have a look.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's fine. you look up whenever you get a chance. But the thing is, the Mass Effect universe. One of the key things is that it felt diverse in a sort of natural way. You have a different
a lot more so than Forehead of the Week.
Yes, a lot more so than the sort of Star Trek Forehead of the Week, or in this case, I mean, in the case of Andromeda, it is just literally everyone's an alien because they've got dog legs and a different head. That's it. That is essentially it. And yeah, I mean
Vorcha.
Vorcha, that's it. Yeah, Vorcha. And the Quarians, of course. Fucking hell.
And the Quarians, yes,
Yeah.
Who do get name checked, but as yet, at least as far as I am, I haven't seen any. So
me neither. But so it just feels too fanboyish. The whole thing just feels like
I feel because I with a few key exceptions, almost it's an entirely new team, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually the team that made the multiplayer for Mass Effect 3. So essentially, they would take assets and builds from the team that made Mass Effect 3.
But just, I'm talking more so from the story perspective. It's a new team,
completely new team.
New team there. So again, the guys behind the first 3 Mass Effect had a story to tell, and have told that story,
and then left BioWare.
Wisely moving on from Mass Effect, arguable about leaving BioWare a bit, but yeah, it's that's a good in some way, because there's nothing worse than someone saying they've reached the end of their story and then saying, in their best Columbo impression, just one more thing.
Yeah, but I mean, Drew Kapitchkin, who wrote the original sort of story Bible for 1, 2, and 3, and he left, and Mac Walters, who did a lot of the sort of dialogue, a lot of the sort of like the story tree dialogue. Yeah. He's become the director of this game. So he's not doing any of the writing. He's literally just overseeing it. Yeah.
There's certainly some bits of writing we could certainly do with his bloody going over.
Well, you would have thought, but that's the problem. He's obviously so far removed from it, because just that opening one that they use in the memes nowadays, I'm sorry, my face is tired.
Yeah.
It's like, you what? Look at your face. Your face has the emotional range of my mouse pad,
There's one person in particular on the Nexus. She's the she's the human in charge of the colonies going out there.
Director Addison,
who has both the worst character model in it as I could tell. I mean, it looks. Do you remember when The Simpsons, when Homer made the makeup gun?
Yes.
It looks like she's taken both barrels at that point blank range. And secondly, the dialogue is just. She keeps going on about how much she hates poetry. Yep. And it's like out of nowhere. It's not like you do a quote and then she comes back and I can't stand poetry. It's just like out of nowhere. She's just how much she hates poetry. And it keeps going on and on and on about it. It's just like,
yeah. But again, it's that whole thing of there's dialogue, and I spelled dialogue in this instance with D-I-R-E space log. Dialogue, which essentially... where the Mass Effect used to live or die was in the dialogue tree, in the kind of conversations. And even though you wouldn't necessarily know exactly what your character was going to say, the interactions were always, I'm going to ask you a question, and then you're going to give me an answer. As opposed to what happens in Andromeda, which is you say, well, and then ... And then all of a sudden the character goes, well, I came to Andromeda because I did this and I did that, and I'm wearing my hat, and my family don't like me, and I did this and I did this, and then, by the way, I don't like this, and I blah, blah, blah. And the person just spiels off a whole heap of exposition based on no actual interaction, based on any decision you make. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a character and I might have said this to you, and I don't know if you've reached this character yet, so I won't say the names or anything. But there's a character.
Species.
No, it's fine. I'm going to keep it all blank. Basically, there's a character who, because every single one of them wants to tell you why they've left the Milky Way. That seems to always be an option in the conversation, and all the time, there's one character who is, shall we say, transgender, for want of a better term. And they're transgender, and the first thing they come out with is, I left Andromeda because ... And they tell you this story. They literally, unbidden, you have literally said like two things to them, like one of them being hello, and the other one is, well, who are you? And they go, hello, I am da-da-da-da-da. I have been, I was living in this lovely place, and it was lovely and green and lush and everything. And by the way, one thing I couldn't stand, and the reason I had to leave Andromeda was because basically they were using the name that I used to go under. Because I used to be, this gender. The implications there is dressed up in a bit of a sci-fi fashion, but it's there. And you go, and your character hasn't said a word, literally has not said a word. And they go, yeah, so they would use my name over and over again, my old dead name, blah, 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 blah. And it's, it was so annoying, and I couldn't get away. I couldn't be me. I couldn't be who I am. All of which is lovely if you got that out of them step by step over the course of time. But they just drop it all on you. And then they say, so they were using my dead name. My dead name is, and they tell you. And you go, and I'm literally sitting there with the controller in my hands going, so let me get this straight. You're telling me all of this stuff because you wanted to get away from Andromeda, you want to get away from your family and your friends and the Milky Way, an entire galaxy, to get away from this name.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Airplane. When anyone sits next to Ted Stryker and he just goes off on his life story.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, it is totally cringe-inducing because that whole thread, that whole dialogue tree, would be interesting if you learnt this from the character over time, but you don't. It just gets dropped on you.
Just branching out on that, there's another thing which has kind of really narked me on the character trees as well. Is now, certainly with your crew members, there's like romance option.
Oh, good
Whereas
Lord.
before you had to kind of, because one thing they've gotten rid of is there's no Paragon or Renegade options for talking. You know, it's now, or whereas it used to be, the upper one was always the positive, the lower one was always the negative, and the middle one was neutral. They've gotten rid of all that now. It's let's see, there's logic, emotion,
sarcasm,
professionalism, and then a love option with certain characters. In the other games, if you were to pursue the romance subplots and everything like that, you had to kind of go through dialogue trees and get to a point with a character, like have earned their trust, so it became available. Now, straight out the gate.
Yeah. Want
to bang?
Yeah.
It's like it literally is an option with one of the characters.
Well, exactly.
You walk up to him and says, I'm interested in you. And it's like, I'm slightly uncomfortable that is an option for my character to say out the gate. It should be something you have to work to that point.
Yeah, it's the Scottish science officer on the bridge of the Tempest.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is the first person I've spoken to on the Tempest since leaving the Nexus. And I've walked up to her and she starts talking and she starts telling me all about things about her faith and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, right, okay, fine. She's nice. She's being nice. She's being kind. And I just flicked across to the option that said, oh, you're very interesting, or something very similar to that. What I didn't notice was right in the middle of the wheel had turned into a heart. And I just said, oh, you're very interesting. I'd like to discuss this more.
Over dinner.
But I didn't really know. He didn't say that. But then he comes out with something. My rider just came out and just went something like that. And she just goes, no. And then goes and sits back down. And you think, what? What the fuck have I just done? How? Why? I've literally just appeared on this ship. And the first thing I've done is hit on my first officer, and I didn't even mean to. All I wanted to do was say that what she was saying was interesting. Because what it's saying in the discussion wheel isn't the same as the emotion that it's giving off.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck. And I straight onto IGN, have I fucked up talking to this person ever again? And actually, it turns out I haven't, because actually I'm not the right gender for that particular person. So that was just saying no. But it's like, there's no nuance.
No, it's sledgehammer. It's literally the rider wanna bang.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Especially with PB as well. I mean, PB the Asari, who is like your first sort of extra squad mate you get, and she just like literally she jumps on you. She jumps on you to save you from pressing a button, which would blow everything up. And she's sitting on you, and you get this sort of like reaction thing to throw her off. And you throw her off and she goes, "Oh, don't like me sitting on you, do you?" And straight away, it's like, right, okay. So your character goes, "Oh, this Revenant stuff is really interesting. All this stuff is really interesting. All that stuff's really interesting. Wanna bang?" It's like, what? How? And it's just so clunky.
Yeah. He or she don't have the looks of a shepherd to pull that line off.
Well, it's not even that. They don't have the dialogue of Shepard to pull it off. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the constantly frustrating thing with this game.
It is frustrating. I mean, you get moments which are good. There are little bits which I really like where they've gone with the dialogue. Not spoiling anything, but there's a bit which happens after the ice planet. There's a dialogue tree you have there, and that's really well done. But again, like you said, you can definitely tell that either there hasn't been someone supervising all of it to make sure it all sounds like it's from the same voice. There's one conversation could be really good and meaningful, and the next one is just like, did a 5-year-old write this? It's that level of disparity there, which a little bit clunky, but you know what? I've managed to get to a point of a game now where I'm like, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
I know where the skip button is.
Yeah.
When I get those ones, it's like skip. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, but that goes all the way through the game. I mean, there's literally moments where I took a photograph of it because I could not believe that was the moment when I texted you and said, "Look, I'm going to throw this fucking thing out the window."
Yeah,
you're about to crackle. Where basically you're sort of. You go to see a Turian who may or may not have been may not be the first murderer in Andromeda. Have you done this one?
Yep.
And you go in, and you sort of like, up until now, everything seems to be well lit and looking nice, and then you walk into this room, and it looks like someone. Now this is 3D speak, but this looks like someone has turned all the ambient occlusion off of all the models. And the conversation with that Turian, it looks like I'm talking to a Turian mime. There is literally no features on that guy's face, and his chin jawbone things that in every other game has sort of flitted around and twitched and moved like the Predator kind of thing. They're literally just stuck to his face. So as he moves, his mouth moves, but the jawbones just stay where they are. And his face is completely blank. And it's like, that. If I didn't know better, I would say that someone got that, ripped it as an asset model from an old game, and slapped it in there without all the textures in place.
There's quite a few instances where the lighting's quite poor and bits and pieces like that, which brings me to one of my biggest complaints, because I've sent you this video.
Yes.
The trailer we all saw back in November, the N7 Day trailer, which made a very big point about how impressive the character models were. And then after that, they doubled down on it by saying about how people are coming up saying they're already falling in love with a character of PB based solely on the 2 seconds you saw her in that trailer. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
It is Colonial Marines all over again.
It's Colonial Marines. It's Watch Dogs as well. It's just, no. To be perfectly honest, the character models in Mass Effect Andromeda look just like the character models out of bloody Mass Effect 1 and 2. It's like, there is none of that improvement. The landscapes, and everything like that, they're making full power of the Frostbite engine.
Yeah.
Doff my cap to you, sir.
But-
Not a problem there.
Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. Go on,
Well,
go
I mean,
on.
okay, mostly on EOS, but yeah. I can't... I stand by that comment, but I can't explain why fully until you finish the planet you're on. But still, it's the landscapes I don't have a problem with, but the character models, it's just appalling. And you mentioned earlier Horizons. Yeah, when you've got games like that coming out, you have no excuse for Andromeda to look like that. You've had 5 years to work on this.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with all of this game. It feels unfinished. It feels like it was shipped with textures turned off, things to make it run fast, everything that needs to happen to make a particular scene work. It's almost like every scene had like settings, and then you go into that scene, and to make this scene work, turn everything on. To make this scene not make this scene run fine, turn everything off. Because your rider, I mean, that was the thing with when I said about the first 8 hours. I played the first 8 hours and I couldn't stand my rider. But the thing was, I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't have gone to bat with that rider in the face modelling thing and then go into the other one and go, oh, okay, he looks like shit. Because why? Because I could have spent all day just tiddling about on the face modeler. But actually what it is because the people who made the face modelling application aren't the people who are supplying the low-res version for the game. Because I made one that I made Rider 3 times. The first one was the one I restarted. Second one, I just tried and then instantly restarted. And then there's the one I'm using now. And the one I instantly restarted, I did one I thought looked quite similar to me in terms of kind of like face width, eye depth, all this kind of thing. And I was kind of really, really trying hard. And I'd got it sort of fairly good. And then I started playing it in the game. And as soon as he sits up in the game from the cryo sleep, I just went, oh my God, I've made Michael Penner from fucking Ant-Man. He did. I was like, what the fuck is that? It literally looked like someone...
Did he sit up and go, hey, Holmes?
Yeah, it was. It did. I thought, that is not the same model. Then what I noticed was that when I played it and he sat up and he does that whole conversation with the two cryotechs going, oh yeah, you're going to find us a new planet with something tropical.
Yeah.
You see it from one angle and you think, no, that is the right model. And then you see it from a distance when he turns around, when you're sort of running around the cryo bay, and you're like, actually, no, that is the right model. But then when you go into close-ups for dialogue, it's like, you're literally like, look at that. Oh, it's a monster. it's an abomination unto man. So I just literally just turned around and just went, no, I'm just going to make a generic heroic rider. And I made one that's kind of not the real model, but one that's kind of slightly off model with grayer hair and a grey beard, so I can at least say that I've tried to make him something of me and a constant frown. And that's kind of worked out okay, but it still isn't the same model as the model that came off the face builder. And then when you go into certain dialogue scenes, it looks fine. And other dialogue scenes, it looks like someone has literally... It was one frame away from a nuclear blast about to hit his face. Because he's just completely washed out.
Yeah.
And there's no shadows, no lighting, nothing. He's just completely flat. And our friend Reese, he's already said, that most of the problems within this game that he's seen can be patched out.
Yeah.
And I think because
most of the graphics problems with this game could be patched out.
Yeah, because I've been leaving my Xbox on low power mode, standby mode. So any patches that have been coming down have been happening overnight. And I have to say things like the kind of looking like you shit yourself when you walk downstairs, that's all gone away. Or at least it appears to have gone away. I've had less of the
instances of the
twitchy leg as well.
Yeah.
And so I think it is getting patched and getting sorted out. But the problem I have is that in the back of my mind, I always have this feeling that the fact that they rushed it out to get it out before April, it's just trying to hit some sort of quarterly report for EA.
Yeah.
and it isn't a finished game. It just isn't.
It could have done with another 6 months.
Yeah, and I would have happily sat there and done it.
Bring it out in November.
Yeah,
on maybe the 7th.
Yeah, but this game has taken 5 years, and it doesn't look it, because the thing is, the one thing that really has been jarring me, and I know I'm just waffling, so feel free to interrupt whenever, but the one thing that's really jarring me is I finished Dragon Age Inquisition, probably that was the last game I finished, and then went on to Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and then went on to a bit of Witcher and then did the Mass Effect games again. And this Andromeda feels like I'm playing Dragon Age. There's a massive, massive map that only unlocks when you hit a tent. A forward station now.
Yeah.
And it does feel like what they've done is what they call, what Jim Sterling calls an asset flip. They are literally picking up the structure of Dragon Age and just changing the graphics. It doesn't seem to be a moment where you're sitting there going, oh, there's actually a story here. No, I'm just driving around mining resources. I'm driving over here and talking to a person who says, find my cat. I'm going over here and someone says, ooh, get this box and move it from the inside of the cave out to the outside edge of the cave and drop it in front of this car. It's like, what is, why? There's no story here. But and as for the fucking planet scanning, oh man! But anyway,
it's not as bad as 2. Was it 2?
The thing with the planet scanning in 2 was that it didn't matter what planet you went to, you could scan them and find something.
Yeah.
What happens in this game is you fly to a planet with a really convoluted, long-winded, nicely presented, but nevertheless pointless flying between planets hyperdrive scene,
which you can't skip
at all,
which is irritating. And because given what we tend to do when it comes to science and spaceships, pretty much completely negates all of the rules established in the first Mass Effect game.
Yep.
Entirely. So yeah, they do something similar. I mean, you've spoken to the Krogan on the Nexus, yeah?
Which one?
The female one. The
oh yes, yeah.
Hesh. Yeah. So the whole genophage thing doesn't matter anymore.
No. Genophage, just hand wavy that. That's fine.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about that at all. No. We were getting better. So
in fairness, the one thing I will say is that there is a line by Morden in the third one where he says, they had to, the STG teams had to keep going in and adjusting.
Yeah.
So there is a certain precedent.
There is a little bit, but again, it would have still been. They could have reinforced that or done something else. But it's. I mean, okay, I haven't encountered any Krogans apart from her and Grandad Shooty Face.
Drac. I love Drac.
Drac is fucking awesome. But I haven't encountered any more besides that, so I don't know if that's going to have something to play. But just from those initial bits, that's just a bit. Oh, I kind of wish you'd done something more with that. But still.
Yeah, hand wavy him again.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, you can't skip the whole flying through hyperspacey cutscene, which doesn't make sense in the laws of the Mass Effect universe. Because again, like when you go to the galaxy map and you want to go from like this planet to this planet. In the old game, you had to go through relays. So fine, you had to go this way, this way, this way, this way.
That's between solar systems, though.
Well, we're still in a system, though, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess. I suppose, we're in a galactic arm.
Exactly. We're in a cluster.
Yeah.
It's different stars. So we are moving between different solar systems. And, yeah, we don't have relays, but that doesn't matter.
No.
Don't need relays.
Shut up, because reasons.
Yeah. And again, this isn't. I think this is just something they didn't think through properly. But I suppose to be able to preserve the rules of the game and everything like this, it took them 600 years to get to Andromeda. That's fair enough.
Yes.
So they're somewhat out of contact with the Milky Way, but they would have still been within contactable distance of the Milky Way while events in Mass Effects 2 and 3 were taking place.
Yes.
And I would have liked a head nod. Something, and I don't see any reason why they couldn't have done this in the context of how they did with Mass Effect 2 if you hadn't played 1, where it was like a comic which you kind of select the choices
fills in
to
the
kind of line up,
blanks. Yeah.
it would have been nice if you could have just like there was suggestions of stuff going on there, which again just tie it in a little bit closer to the original game.
Yeah,
I mean, there isn't actually a setting in the game settings where you have to tell it if your shepherd was male or female. But I have yet to find out if that has any impact on anything.
Well, I suspect it will, but well, I mean, I have a theory story-wise about the Revenant, but I will get to that maybe towards the end. But
okay, but I'll tell you what, we've been quite critical.
Fucking right. I mean, I haven't even got started, to be honest. But yeah,
I know. But we're a minisode. B, I have an early flight tomorrow.
Exactly.
C, I do want to get onto some positives.
Okay, yeah. All right then. Well then, okay. I'll tell you what. Yeah, if anybody wants to hit me up for the negatives, just find me on Facebook or on Twitter. I'm at Cartoon Beardy, and I will fill you in.
We can have an addendum. You know,
yes.
like we did with the Star Trek Beyond one.
Yes,
there'll be additional minisodes for out.
Well, I don't. I think this might draw a line in the sand for Mass Effect minisodes, to be honest. But we'll see.
At least until the next one comes out.
No, they're going to have
or until Elton plays. We get that set up.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm warming to this game. I have to say, I am warming to this game. But unless this game pulls out some Mass Effect 2 style sort of ta-da cliffhanger shit at the end, I am not getting the next one if they bring out another one.
Can I ask a question, though?
Yes.
Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
And I know it's very hard to do this because we live in a world where things have happened. But if there was no Mass Effect 2 or 3, or if those games were just not the powerhouses they were, would Mass Effect 1 on its own hold your heart in the way Mass Effect does as a whole?
Well, interestingly, because the thing with that was I actually got Mass Effect 2. A little bit of back history here. Okay. It might help. I played Mass Effect 1 and I got about halfway into it and I didn't get as far as Vermeer. So I didn't get to the key element of here's Sovereign, here's what Sovereign's all about.
Yeah.
And before I got to Vermeer, I have this completionist streak in me. So when I see like 55 planets all over the place, I'm going to go to every single fucking one of them.
Yep.
And so, so yeah, I kind of lost path on the story.
Okay.
And so the first time I played Mass Effect, I abandoned it before Vermeer. Then Mass Effect 2 came out, and there was all this hoo-ha about it. And I saw the trailers, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a go. And I started it, and as soon as I started it and saw the big scene, I was like, okay, before I go any further with this fucking thing, I am going back to number one. Mm-hmm. And I went back to number one, and I basically ploughed through it a sort of for a first time through playthrough, and I ploughed through it knowing that there was something at the end of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I made it to Vermeer, and as soon as I made it to Vermeer, the game just went done. There you go. There's your story. Here's your plot. Here's your plan. Here we go. You know, it isn't just one big bad guy you're after. Now you're facing something much, much bigger. And as soon as you did that, that was it. I was hooked. I would love to say that I picked up Mass Effect 1 the first time round and just went, oh, it's great. Yeah, it's brilliant. But I didn't. I went to Mass Effect 1 and just bailed on it halfway.
Because my backstory of Mass Effect is I saw it coming in terms of the trailers and everything like that. It excited me just from the design of a spaceship and everything like that. I got it not like as soon as it came out, but you know, certainly within the first couple of months and played it. Played it through, really, really enjoyed it. But that was it. I was engaged. I was like, yep, I like that. I'm going to go on to the next one. But that was that. Put it aside. Didn't really think about it again until Mass Effect 2 came out. For me, it was Mass Effect 2 which made me go, this is something I need in my life. Like, as, you know, in the same way Star Trek is something, Babylon 5, Star Wars is something which kind of molds my geek identity. It was 2 and 3 which made Mass Effect that. The only reason I'm kind of saying that is I'm wondering is we don't know if there is going to be that killer moment, if there is a Vermeer moment in this game. Don't know one way or the other. But equally so, if the next game is one that's like, oh, that's where this is all just groundwork, foundations and stuff, and the next one kicks off, would that change your view on it?
It's a good question, and it's probably one I don't know I can answer honestly, because at the moment, having got to the ice world, I've not got to the other world because there's 2 that you can pick, isn't there?
Yeah,
And
I've not done the other one either. I did Eos, the mission to the is it Aya? I think it was.
yeah,
And then straight to the ice world. And I've had to abandon play because I have to go off and do shit.
Yeah.
So I finished that mission. And I was like, right, this is a good place for me to just stop. So
yeah,
that's what I've done.
Well, as soon as this podcast ends and I top and tail it, I'm going to go back on.
Yeah.
So I'll catch up with you pretty quickly. I think the thing with this, in this case, is that it's not just the one thing that Mass Effect 1 had, which it might not necessarily have been the most accessible game. And I understand when Pete says things like, "Oh, you're just going up and down on the lifts."
Yeah.
The thing with Mass Effect 1 which it had was it worked, and it really did sort of just go, here's the bad guy, here are the bad guys with the Geth, here's Saren, here's his big spaceship, and it was like straight away you're into a plot, and whether or not that carried you along is one thing, but the writing also carried you along, and once you got to know all the characters, which was another thing that I didn't do in the first playthrough, and that's why I kind of fucked up, because I spent so long catching up with all the dialogue trees that come after every single big mission.
Yeah,
because you stand there and you talk to a character, and then they tell you a character tree, and then you go to
incidentally.
Another
If anyone from BioWare is listening, small request here: can you just have like a little light or an icon over a character when they have something new to say, so I don't have to fucking spend 15 minutes?
I've got a little hint and tip for you on that one that I figured out. If the characters in Andromeda have got anything new to say, and you're going to have a big cutscene with them,
yeah.
Go to where they are. If the door is closed and it's locked, so you have to actually press the button to open it, then you're going to get a scene. If, on the other hand, it just opens as you run up to it, nothing new to see.
Well, that's good for the 3 in rooms.
Yeah, but the thing is, you'll find that the characters who are in that big open area, atrium bit in the Tempest, if they're not around, they'll be somewhere else completely. So, like, for example, with PB, if she's not in her room... Yeah. And she's down in like engineering having a go at Gil.
Yeah.
Then she's got something to say.
Okay.
If she's not there and she's back in her room, then unless the room door opens automatically, she's got something to say.
Okay.
See, it's
but
always...
I stand by it. I'm just saying.
No, absolutely. But that's part of the problem with this game is it doesn't tell you. You have to work that shit out, and some of that shit is just stuff which isn't adding to the game. It could have just turned around and just gone, just be aware that if your character is not in the normal place, they might have something extra to say to you. Which I know is a bit hand-holdy, but fuck me, this game...
But put it this way, after every mission, I'm sure you're the same as me, I get back on the Tempest, the first thing I do is I go to every single person.
Yeah.
And talk to them. And, they stop what they're doing, turn around... say their opening line and then the dialogue tree, and nothing new. Fine, I'm out. It's just
but that's the thing. Is the game's kind of really weirdly, oddly laid out there as well, because it's like it wants to handhold you with everything. Like especially when you're in the Nomad and Sam goes, "You can scan some areas for minerals, Pathfinder." It's like
you mean Jarvis?
Oh, yeah, you mean Mitchell and Webb? I mean, it's just like, yeah, I fucking know. You've told me 75 times. But, for something useful, like, actually, how you mine? How would you mine? Can we have a little tutorial about that? Oh, no. Just open up a thing, and hopefully you'll notice that it's a bit like the mining laser thing in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
If
and
you're
it's
lucky.
even more, again, there's nothing I hate more than I get to, like, fair. And I'm like, where's that last bit? Because I must suck up all of the minerals.
No, I'm not. No, my life's too short for that anymore.
Yeah, I got to that point. I was just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm done. I'm out of that. But anyway, positives.
Positives.
We're being positive. The combat system is much improved over Mass Effect 1, which, to be fair, wasn't difficult.
No.
I don't know if it... I'd say it's probably about on par with Mass Effect 3. I've not had any problems. I quite enjoy using it. The modding the guns is the whole researching and crafting, a little bit clunky. And the whole resource management is pure Mass Effect 1, which annoys the fuck out of me.
Yeah, there's a lot
being
of that.
positive, so I'm not talking about that.
No. I mean, yeah, for me, the combat is quite cool. The characters, when they when they fight with you, especially if you've got Drac and Jarl.
Oh god, yeah.
The pair of them when they're powered up a bit, because I've literally pushed them through the ceiling with their powers as opposed to their any other skills. Those guys you can pretty much just stand back, let them have at it, and just shoot from a distance, and just spam biotics all over the place. So I like that. I like the fact that it's not like Mass Effect 2 and 3 where you're constantly running off down a corridor, going, come on guys, follow me, and then you realise that they're all dead because they just decided to walk out in front of a mech.
I've had one bloody do that.
Yeah, I mean Liam seems to be the one that does that a lot. He goes, oh, come on in, let's all go, and then 2 seconds later you hear, I'm down. Oh, God, here we go again. You are shit, Liam. So yeah, but positives. I mean, I would say that the Nomad controls are a world above the Mako.
Oh god, I've actually pimped my ride a bit at this point.
I haven't gone anywhere near that.
It's in the research thing. So I've improved the armor, the life support, the what's it called, the speed boost and the jump. They're both improved now. I've given it a lovely platinum paint finish.
Nice.
You would, wouldn't you? Which is awesome because when you're on EOS, it's all reflective and blue sky and thingy.
Oh, very nice.
When you're on what's the planet you're on at the minute? Ice Planet.
Valor.
Valor.
Yeah.
It's all kind of silver and white and everything. It's pretty pimp. So I'm quite like that.
Nice.
Yeah, the Nomad is a lot easier to live with.
Yeah.
Although, would it kill them to stick a gun on this fucking thing?
Yeah, could say that about the Tempest.
I'm hoping it's an option later on.
You could say that about the Tempest itself as well, but
well, to come to the Tempest, because obviously we talk about spaceships a lot. I quite like it.
I do too.
I like it a lot.
I mean, to be quite honest, I think again, this is the fan thing again, which in this case is actually a positive. They've taken the lifts away, and I like the fact that you are literally able to run from one end of the ship to the other, climb down ladders, climb up lifts, and everything's all in one place, and it's alive. And no, we're supposed to be positive, but the one thing that bugs me is there's only 11 people on this ship.
That is true. I mean, this is the weird thing, because it feels bigger than the Normandy. I know it's not, but it feels it.
Yeah,
especially on the bridge. Because the bridge is kind of cool. You've got the 2 stations there.
Yeah,
and you've got the galaxy map, effectively.
Yeah,
which is on like a holographic screen.
Yeah, it's on which is on the inside of the nose of the ship.
Yeah, but yeah, it does. It's not just me. It feels bigger than the Normandy, doesn't it?
It feels longer than Normandy because the ability to run from one end to the other feels more like you are actually running the length of the ship. I wouldn't say it feels bigger though, because there's especially in Mass Effect 3 where you can go down to literally to where it's like there's 3 Makos.
Okay, you're right. I know the whole thing with the different levels, and I take that point. But just talking about on that main deck,
the main deck. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, in many ways, yes, it is, because where Joker sat in the Normandy, it's like basically 2 chairs, and then you go to the Tempest, and it's like about sort of 70 feet across.
Yeah.
But and also it's got you got an escape pod out of one door, and then you got an airlock out the side of another door, and it's like, really, that all fits in that? Okay. And then so compared to the Normandy in that respect, but then you look at the Normandy where you do the galactic map, which is a massive hangar space with like about 60 people in it, and you're like, no, okay, fair enough, that's much bigger.
Yeah. No, it is. And again, going back even to Mass Effect 2, once the Normandy 1's getting blown to shit, that's kind of when you get a sense of the scale of the interior there as well.
Yeah.
But people who want to hear about that can go back to, I think, episode 4 and listen to that discussion.
Listen to that interesting discussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the look of a Tempest. I mean, I suppose a complaint, it's not really a complaint, but certainly at this point, why aren't there more of them?
Well, there was 4 of them, but they were lost when the Nexus came out and smashed into the Scourge.
Yeah, which just kind of strikes me as overly. I mean, okay, say they're damaged, or say we don't have enough crews to man them, or something. It's just, oh yeah, it's the only one now. And it's just like,
yeah,
fine, whatever. I like the landing sequence. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
The
until
way it
you
comes
see
down
it
and you-
70 times.
Okay, yeah, the whole not skipping thing, kind of irritating.
Yeah. Which goes back to Mass Effect 1 again, you know, with the whole thing of when they dropped the Mako, you couldn't
Yeah.
skip that either.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, really?
It's a shame they can't do the Nomad drops, actually. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. But
Woohoo!
yeah, exactly. But yeah, go on.
I was going to say, another positive. We've already mentioned him briefly, but Drac.
Drac is a small reminder of precisely why you loved Mass Effect.
It really is.
He is clearly a game character from another game that's just decided to had the misfortune of being dropped into this one. But no, he's fantastic.
He's a delight.
Yeah,
He literally, every opportunity, he's with my companion when I'm walking around, because his dialogue is amazing.
yeah, it is. And I love his gruffness, and he's the fact that he's 1,000 years old, and he's like, he's seen it all, done it, been there. He doesn't give a shit about who he offends. He just says it, and it's like, really, I'd go gay for Drac. I mean, but as far as the other characters go, Jarl, they desperately want him to be Garrus, don't they? Am I getting that?
They're definitely.
Because even when he shoots people and he gets rid of them, he goes, one less to worry about. And it's
yeah. They failed so spectacularly. I haven't even thought of him in that way.
No.
Once. So, but I can see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, what's his? I mean, who's the pilot's name? Can't remember. Yeah.
No. Fennec? Ferric?
Jarl?
No, Jarl is...
Jarl is Monocle McCapeface.
Yeah, Monocle McCapeface, Squid Face.
Yes.
I mean,
Space calamari.
can I just say as well?
Yes.
Can I just say for 1 second, the female versions of that character species, they look like they've all escaped from Wabaloo off of CBBC. CBBS.
I'm not familiar, so
Look up Wabaloo, CBBS. Yoga, they're basically yoga monkeys. That's all you need to know. Really.
Ant-Man typing thing onto okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oops, shit.
It comes back to, again, they're too familiar.
Yes.
Again, they don't even have hell, at this point, Teal'c from Stargate SG-1 was a more alien than these guys are.
Yeah.
And his basic defining point was he had a gold stamp on his forehead and a slug in his belly. But he acted more alien. You know, it's just... I feel like this is a massive missed opportunity there to really...
Calo Jath, that's the character.
Yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, there's a massive missed opportunity there with the Angara to really do something kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've already mentioned the Ket. They're a bit one-notey.
They're just evil because they're evil. I mean, there's just nothing there. That's the thing that really just chaps my arse. It's just like, especially the first time you see the main guy who's not been named yet, but I know he's called the Archon because they mention it in the trailer. But he literally turns up, stands there, tries to copy someone's actions to try and make something work.
Oh, you mean Sir not appearing in this film?
Yeah. And yeah, Clancy Brown earns himself a conservatory, and he literally the Ket Archon turns up. He does the same moves as Clancy Brown's character. Whatever it is doesn't work, and he's just got this look on his face It just makes me feel like he's like Prince Rupert from fucking Princess Bride. He's just going to go off and strop somewhere.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like a threat. He just feels like someone with a big funny hat and goes, respect me because I have a big funny hat.
Well, I can't say anything.
No. Okay.
Keeping stum.
Okay.
But we will have another discussion very shortly, I fear. Off this, but you and I will have something else to talk about. One thing which, again, I don't know if I was missold this, just misunderstood it or what have you, but they made a big deal about how in this game, if you chose a male or a female protagonist, the female or male version, your sister or brother, would still feature. Now, I thought that was going to be an option where, okay, fine, they're going to be on your team, but it's going to be a slightly different dynamic, and you'll be able to play through the games again with someone else, and it will be a slightly different perspective. But nope, they're just asleep.
Yeah,
it's like, so what was the point here?
Yeah,
that's all. It's like, well, why make a point? Why mention it? It was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that is the problem. This game feels like it's a game that needed at least another 6 months in the oven. It really did. And I'm reading now, just after trying to find the name of the characters. Yeah. I'm looking at the old article, and it says, with Dragon Age Inquisition being BioWare's biggest game launch ever, you'd be forgiven for thinking numerous elements of the game would start leaking over to the next game, Mass Effect. But discussing with NeoGAF, Aaron Flynn of BioWare said, there's been a few thoughts like this recently, but I've got a good idea where it's coming from. And all our games are using Frostbite, but we will not be using anything from DAI. And it's like, well, actually, you fucking are. It's the entire game. It literally is Dragon Age Inquisition.
Fortunately or unfortunately, either way, I can't talk to it because I haven't played it. So
You're playing it.
Well, I'm playing it, but I haven't played it when it was called Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea of it, basically, you get something terrible happens to a leader of your clan. Yeah. Right. This is Dragon Age Inquisition I'm talking about.
Right.
Something terrible happens to the leader of your clan. Because that person has died, you have to take over their position.
Right.
And no one trusts you. And there's a big warlord who wants the power that you have. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm still listening.
Still listening. Wants the power that you have, and you have to basically establish a new colony, like a big base, like a fortress, in the middle of like the one place that they can't get to, and essentially win over your characters. And you start off by going off into this big area called the Hinterlands. The Hinterlands are essentially a massive kind of wilderness map where you go to different places, people ask you to do different things, but essentially you're just running around this map for about 4 hours. And the way you unlock the map is as you get further out to the edge of the map, you'll find that there's little places marked on your map with the tent. And if you set up a tent, it's a forward base for the Inquisition that you've set up.
I wasn't expecting that.
No, exactly. And so then you open up more of the map. But some of the map is being overrun by this evil radiation and this evil red crystal stuff called red lyrium. And it's slowly creeping across your planet.
Okay. Fair point. Can I give you a pro tip, by the way? Don't go to the IMDb page looking up the cast because you will spoil something from this game.
The cast?
I was reading the cast list, and it named something in the thing, and I wish I hadn't read it.
Okay,
so,
I'm not.
Don't go near IMDb.
Well, of course.
Pro tip for people out there.
Well, for what it's worth, IMDb's not worth a wank anyway. Because like I said before, whenever someone says, "Oh, because it's written in IMDb," just remember, ladies and gentlemen, according to IMDb, Dennis Hopper was going to be Davros in the David Tennant Doctor Who.
Yeah, but I think this still take your point.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm just saying, just in case you get too worried.
Yeah, no.
Just cling on to that.
So yeah, I mean, anything else? I mean, obviously we could and probably will at some point keep going on. But I mean, any other thoughts about? You want to express?
I mean, I've been pretty down on it through this cast. But to wrap up, I will say that now that the Nexus is opening up, and now that's becoming more of a sort of open world, that I'm starting to feel Mass Effect again. I'm starting to feel that kind of building an environment, building characters, interacting with other characters. But for me, overall, this game has been a fairly hefty kick in the knackers, and I'm hoping it'll get better. I hope it will continue to warm up to me, but I really have to say, I overall, it's been a real sort of eye opener for sort of like believing the hype.
To be fair, or not to be fair, but still, we both knew we were well and truly on that hype train.
Oh yeah, choo.
I mean, we had a discussion. I remember a few. I think it was just after the N7 Day trailer came out, and we were like, I think it was after we did the Minisode actually.
Yeah,
one of those. And we were like going. We both go, we really shouldn't get swept up in this and all that. And we were both like, fuck it. After the year we've had, I need to fucking believe and I need something. So I'm on this train.
Yeah. And
in retrospect, that might have been a mistake.
Yeah.
And by might have been a mistake, it absolutely was a mistake.
Yes.
I mean, my views of this this is a good, if flawed game so far. It still has the potential to be a great game. Yeah, because this will live and die by its story and how that plays out, and it's a big and expansive story, and just scratching the waters here. So, at the minute, maybe 18, 20 hours in, like yourself, it's a good game, the potential to be great. I am enjoying it, but it's just there are niggles. There are niggles. It is nowhere near as bad as people on the internet will leave you to believe.
I will say.
It is. I mean, some of the stuff we've heard and read and seen and all that. I mean, to be fair, these are the same people that were bitching about Mass Effect 3 at the time, and now they're complaining this isn't Mass Effect 3. So take that as you will. I think if you're a fan of Mass Effect, this is definitely worth a go. You were going to say something before I.
No. I mean, you were pretty much saying the same thing. I was just going to say the whole point. How can I put it? The whole thing. I've been down on this game, but what I will say is the worst it is just a game that it's just a game that is an average game. It's not anything amazing, and I think that's kind of part of the problem. I was expecting it to be amazing, and it wasn't. Now
we were expecting the second coming of Shepard.
Exactly. So the one thing I would say is, yes, I've been down on it. Yes, it's not as good as the other three. But what I would say is, if you're gonna give it a try, it's a second purchase or a buy it second hand, and you'll be perfectly fine. It's not the worst thing ever made. The only thing I would say is, if like me and Andy, you bought into the hype, you're gonna come away really, really disappointed. And I don't know. I think if I'd known what I was getting into, I might have just left it. But the problem is, the one thing I will say is all the hype, all the extra stuff with the people doing the memes with the Sarah Ryder face and all this kind of stuff. That stuff, I mean, because Jim Sterling did a video with the music from I think it's from like Castle Crashers or something, and all the bugs and everything going on. And while the writing isn't going to get any better, so there is well-deserved reason to put those bits in there, where she's going, "My face is tired," and then someone else says, "Oh, I'm collecting specimens for our conservation initiative," and then your character goes, "What's a conservation initiative?" It's like, oh my god,
yeah.
So those bits deserve to be in there, but some of the bugs with like the flapping hands and the eyeballs flying out the back of people's heads, or the heads doing spinning, 75%, or even like stuff I'm seeing on 9gag now, where people are sort of showing Sarah Ryder's face with her lips above her head. It's like, I mean, don't take those things to heart. really don't, because it's too easy to see those bits and think that's the whole game, and it's actually not. It's not even close. It's like any mistakes, that kind of stuff happens. Yeah, it's over and done with in seconds.
Again, they've gotten a lot less frequent as I've progressed, and I'm thinking that's more to do with patches than me just getting further into the game. It's that. And all I will say is, it started off a bit shaky for me. Again, I think the beginning is, I won't say poor, but it's massively underwhelming.
Yes.
Over the expectation that was laid upon it. It's massively underwhelming. But if you stick with it past that, again, I mean, I've probably given it 3 full days of sitting there just, literally have had to take to standing in front of a TV because my ass was sore from sitting for so long. It's that level of just playing through it. I've been engaged. I've been enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. Hell, again, if it was up to me, I'd be playing it now and for the next week or so. It's just I can't do that. So again, for me, I will see this to the end, and maybe not a full minisode, but maybe we'll just do a follow up where you and I will just say once we've gotten to the end of it, final thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Depending on how they go, but again, I think it's don't get it right now. Give it a month. Let the patches come out. Wait until you got some time. Sit down, and then give it some time. Let the hype disappear. Let the memes go away. Just enjoy it for what it is, and I think you will really enjoy it. I mean, we know other people that are into Mass Effect that have been enjoying it. Jen Williams, she's been posting, having a lot of fun.
She's been enjoying it, and I really wish I enjoyed it as much as she did.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
No, absolutely. And again, look, sooner or later, the Tempest is going to appear on the jury because I fucking love that ship. I really like that ship. And as soon as a model is available, it will be going on the shelf alongside my 2 Normandies and my Alliance cruiser, as purchased by the wonderful Mr. Medcalf. Yes. So, again, take it what you will. This is, like I said, we're very early into this game. We're kind of like, to take your Phantom Menace analogy earlier, we've just gotten off of the battleship down to Naboo.
Yeah.
So it could go to either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that analogy, we've not met Jar Jar yet.
Yeah, we haven't met Jar Jar yet. Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway, let's not go there.
No, let's not. So yes. Unless there's anything else you could.
No.
I think
that's it.
I think that's our first little dabble into the waters of Andromeda. Elton, if you're listening, Mass Effect Andromeda. We want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. And if anyone else is playing the game and wants to leave their thoughts, do join us on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/SpaceDogJury, or tease Pete with loads of pictures of memes of Sarah Ryder with her eyes rolling up in the back of her head to @SpaceDogJury on Twitter. He won't understand what the fuck it is all about, but there you go.
But we'll have a laugh.
We'll have a laugh, indeed. So, so that's it, really. Basically, it's the come down after the hype party, basically.
It is. We've got a massive hype hangover.
Yeah, massive hype hangover. Oh, well. So, that's it, really. So, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Andy, for taking time up between packing and getting ready to fuck off to climes unknown.
Oh, thank you for the distraction. Because I've got to do that now.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, it means it's your turn to go and untie Pete. So have fun.
Oh God, do I have to wipe and everything? Oh God. All right, I'll just beam him straight into the bath. It's probably easier.
Good plan.
Okay. Until next time, tatty bye.
I should go.
You don't get to say that anymore.
Space Dock Jury is a production of 3 Angry Beards.